We're doing a stream right now. And heads up anybody. I just want to share this information. We'll start off with Restore the Snyderverse and we'll go into Free Palestine. All praise be to the Most High God. The Most High God comes first. And everything we do and say, this stream is brought to you by LIVE Products. If you're in the Trinidad and Tobago area, you can order now. The number is the number is not in the description, actually, now that I think about it. So you can contact me by inboxing me on YouTube for these products. They are drink products, punches, and cleaning products. LIVE, live now. We're alive now. I want to discuss with you a couple of things. One of them is that there was a piece done on, I think it's Puck, by a really resounding journalist who also produces pieces for THR. And basically assessing the situation in Warner Brothers. It looks like David Zaslav, he's reprimanding Abdi and DeLuca for some of the most recent failures that they have had with the company, saying that, they're investing too much money, they're spending too much money on these movies. Now, Abdi and DeLuca, they're all about quality. And they are a little bit liberal with the funding, but the funding, if you know anything about movies, some movies hit, some movies miss. It's a risk when you're doing original IPs. And, when an original IP does well, it's really a resounding thing. Like what Zack Snyder has done now, a number of original IPs. We had Sucker Punch, Rebel Moon, Army of the Dead. We've had Army of Thieves. We've had Rebel Moon Part 2, and we've also had Twilight of the Gods. So Zack Snyder has done a number of original IPs, and they were all successful, except for Sucker Punch. Sucker Punch was not successful. So it's a risk when you put out an original IP, because there's nothing before it to get people's attention. It just has to be interesting. And Abdi and DeLuca, they came into Warner Brothers somewhere around 2022. I think it was somewhere in June of 2022. One of the original IPs that was a historical IP was Elvis, which came out a couple days after they came to power. And that was a very successful movie. It did very well. They inherited DC League of Super Pets that flopped. And I believe a series of other movies flopped, one of which was one of the crowning IPs they were working on as well, which was Black Adam, and that also flopped. Okay. And they did, it probably was a great improvement from what it probably originally was supposed to be, but still nonetheless, it flopped. They had a series of other movies that put out. Now, let me show you something about Abdi and Luca, which I don't know if David Zaslav is even understanding what he's doing. I think he's cutting costs, and he doesn't realize by cutting costs and cutting and chopping out people, he's really just cheapening up the company and making it less and less interesting, and basically showcasing less and less. That's what he's doing, because the expertise of people. He fired the head of advertising, which is a ridiculous thing to do. So if you fire Abdi and DeLuca and replace him with Safran, which is what they're saying he's going to do, again, you're just going to drive the company down into the drain, okay? Because the company's already under tremendous assault because DC's not producing. It's DC that's not producing. It's not, these were supposed to be blockbuster movies. These movies were supposed to make hundreds of millions of dollars in profit, and they have not been firing. That's the problem. Okay, let's Abdi and Luca were the closest to getting these movies to fire. Aquaman 2, so very costly, was the highest grossing one of the failures, but the movie that was actually closest to making profit and was close to breaking even was Black Adam, but it still flopped, but it didn't cost the studio as much money as the other movies. Anyways, let's talk about Abdi and DeLuca and their performance so far. So when we look at, they came on the scene somewhere in June, They had a successful Elvis movie that year in 2022. What else did they have that was successful? That was about it. So they had one movie that was successful, and all the other movies were not successful under their charge. They had a big 2023. In 2023, they started off with a movie that it just came out of nowhere and was extremely successful. It didn't really capture a lot of American markets. It was really for Latin American markets in Spain. And Mummies did exceptionally well. However, House Party, which was supposed to be it was supposed to be like a remake of the original House Party from back in the day, that didn't do well. Magic Mike's Last Dance didn't do well. And then they came out and they did extremely well with Creed. Okay, Creed 3 did extremely well. That was a tremendous success. And then they had a tremendous failure following that with Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Again, DC kept on pulling down their successes. They had great success with Air because they had very, very limited distribution of Air. So they made some change there. They had nothing to do with the production at all. They coupled up with Amazon and MGM, and they were able to put out Air. And Air was a successful movie in the sense that it was supposed to go straight to streaming, but it got a little theatrical time, so it got a little extra change on top of because of the deal that they had with the Warner Brothers, etc. So everybody profited off of Air. Evil Dead Rise was very successful that year, and then that success was followed by a failure that was much bigger, which was The Flash. So what probably saved them that year was Barbie. Barbie was the most successful Warner Brothers movie ever in the history of Warner Brothers. Barbie just blew away everything and made billions. And that sort of compensated for the losses they had. And they had some big losses that year as well. Then Meg 2, it actually did well, The Trench. And then Blue Beetle comes again. You heard the DC brand just heavily wags down on Warner Brothers Pictures and just keeps on hurting them. Blue Beetle, flop. Epic flop, right? Again, James Gunn coming on the scene with Peter Safran, announcing that DC is going to be recalled. That was not good. That was not smart at all. And Warner Bros. Lost a lot of revenue just off of this fucking DC brand. The DC brand has not been good to Warner Brothers for the longest while now. And almost every single DC movie that has gone to the theater, there's only 2 DC movies that went into the theater and actually made money. They made big money, but they're only 2. And now back in 2019 it was Joker. Sorry, it's 3. Sorry. 2019 was Joker, and then 2019 it was Shazam. And then in 2022, we had the Batman. Okay. The Joker was wildly successful. Shazam was moderately successful, for a small production. And the Batman was quite successful. Those are the only DC movies that made money from 2019 to this present time. The only DC movies. So DC has been a burden on Warner Brothers now since 2019. We're in 2025 for 6 years now. For 6 years, DC has been a burden on Warner Brothers. It's not been helping them. They've been performing moderately. It had moderate success in other areas, in horror. The Nun. In 2023, The Nun made money. And then at the end of 2023, we had Wonka, and Wonka made money. But then again, the DC brand, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, lost them a whole set of money. Not as much as the other ones, by the way. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom lost them money, but not as much as the previous films. Okay. The biggest loser of 2023 was The Flash. The Flash lost them significant boatloads of money. But Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom did let me show you what happened here. So its budget was 205 to 215 million. 2 times its budget's like between 410 to 430 million. Okay. 2.5x, which is probably what we're looking at really. 2.5x would be about 500 million had to make. So it lost them somewhere around maybe 61 million to to probably $61 million, maybe a little less than that. So that wasn't as bad as say a ton of other movies, which just didn't even make their budgets. This at least made its budget almost. Well, it more than made its budget. It made twice its budget. It made twice its budget, right? It didn't make 2.5 times its budget, but it did make twice its budget. So it, even though it flopped, and the other movie I just want to talk to you guys about, and this came out, this was really under Hamada, if I could find it. Black Adam is another movie that almost made it, It well, actually, I don't know. The budget was between 190 to 260 million dollars. I don't know which. I really don't know. That's a spectrum right there, and that's a lot of money they put out into that movie. If that's the case, maybe reshoots or whatever. I would say it's somewhere in the average of that. So you add those two things together and you divide them by 2, you will get somewhere around, I don't know. Let's see. That's like 450 million divided by 2. That's 225 million. So it's about 225 million. To break even, I guess it had to make 450 million or above. So this didn't quite make the money that we expected it to make, but it is what it is. Now, the point anyway I'm making is that 2023 was their best year, but it was pulled down by the DC brand. They had 2 flops. They had Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, and then they had The Color Purple that did not work out for Abdi and DeLuca. So The Color Purple, misfired. And then in 2024, Joker misfired. And you'll see another misfire in 2024. Anyway, Doom Part 2 came out in 2024. That was successful. It did quite well. Godzilla times Kong, the New Empire, didn't do as well as they expected, but it still did pretty well. And again, they didn't have anything to do with production there, so that cost wasn't really, there for them. But then they had a misfire with Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. That movie, even though you had Ridley Scott doing it, and the whole 9 yards behind it, that movie misfired. So that was a second misfire. They had The Color Purple, which misfired, and then Furiosa. That's all on Abdi and DeLuca. Okay. Now remember, because DC pulled down Warner Brothers' earnings, they probably would have earned a lot more. Now they're running out of funding. They're running out of money. Okay. And Barbie did great to carry them along last year, but they needed more movies to help carry them along. And Furiosa was supposed to be one of them, and it just did not click. I mean, it lost the money, and they invested quite a lot of money into Furiosa because, again, Ridley Scott you're talking about. You take this great director. It's not as much as The Flash or as much as Black Adam or those things. They were throwing a lot more money at those films, but still, it didn't. You see, it just made its budget. It didn't go beyond that, and that was a shocker for Abdi and DeLuca. And the same thing happened with Joker, the sequel to Joker. They did get. They were supposed to do Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 of Horizon American Saga. That didn't even get off the ground. Twisters barely made some money. The Looney Tunes movie, it backfired. Trap barely made money. Beetlejuice actually made money. So that was one of the movies that made money. It made crazy money for the investment that was put in. It had like 4.5 times the amount of its budget. So it made money. But again, it wasn't a big, even though it's a big blockbuster, it wasn't the biggest blockbuster in the world. So they did get back some money there. And then they had Joker, Folie à Deux, that backfired. So they had 3 backfires in 2024. This is why David Zaslav was starting to get on his attention. And again, Joker, Folie à Deux was, the budget was pretty big. It was like close to $200 million. It's like 195 million probably. So once again, you're dealing with a box office like that. People started getting nervous. People started to get jittery. It did make back its budget, but that's not good enough. I mean, this is supposed to kickstart something. And remember, DC at this time is a burden on Warner Brothers. And now these 2 directors, Abdi and DeLuca, they can't seem to get the thing kicking into gear and coming off the ground. Even their Lord of the Rings animated series, it didn't make no money, and they invested quite a lot of money into that again. Well, it wasn't much. It wasn't much. It was 30 million, but still nonetheless, right? And then their most recent movie that they put out there, now Companion did work out. So Companion made some money. It wasn't a very expensive movie. Again, it was New Line Cinema was producing that, the lower budget movies. But Mickey 17, which they promoted so heavily, it hasn't even made back its budget yet. So this is like the fourth or fifth misfire. And then we have Superman coming around the corner. Now, so that's why they're talking about Abdi and DeLuca, and David Zaslav's looking like he's not going to cut there yet, but you can see he's trying to move into that direction. They're talking about Peter Safran replacing them. I don't think that's a good idea, but I want to show you something. This is what's still to be seen, still to come. Okay, you have The Parenting, which just came out this month. Okay, but it came out on Max, so it's not going to theaters at all. So we don't know. That's just straight to Max. Then on March 21st, you have the Alto Nights. Now they were able to get Robert De Niro to do this movie. Now the question really is more like, okay, what is going to set this movie apart? All right, the budget's 45 million, so it's not a big budget movie. It's going to be distributed by Warner Brothers. The production company is Wrinkler Films. So I'm assuming 45 million is what, if Warner Brothers buys it from them after they put out all this money, I guess 45 million is what they sell it to Warner Brothers for. The question really will be, can Warner Brothers distribute this? Can they make some money off of this? So the upside is, if they can make some money off of this movie, that would be in their best interest. Okay, and then they have gotten, the great, they get the great Robert De Niro to work for them. So that's the idea. You try to get the good names, great names, build your brand like that. So this is how Abdi and Lucas thinking about it. Okay. And then they have the Minecraft movie that's coming up, and this is supposed to be a movie with Jason Momoa, Jack Black. Those are the two big names they got to pull off this movie. It's April 4th. And look at that budget. It's $150 million. So they threw a lot of money at this, and they're hoping against hope that this somehow makes money. It's with Legendary Pictures, okay, Vertigo Entertainment as well. So you got, a couple of different companies that help to produce this movie. The question really will be, because this is an hour and 40 minutes long, the question will be, can this movie be a hit somehow, some way? Is it going to capture sort of like the essence of what Minecraft is? I don't know. I have no idea. And it seems as though there are actual human beings in this movie. So I don't know if they can pull it off or not. But this is one of those movies they're relying on to make money with. The other one is Sinners with Ryan Coogler. They're coupling back up with Ryan Coogler. And as well, they're coupling back with Michael B. Jordan. They had success with them with the movie Creed 3. So they're coupling back up with them to see if they can make some money out of Sinners. Sinners' budget is $90 million. And it's a drama mostly. It's a supernatural drama. So it should be interesting how it's a supernatural horror drama, actually. Hopefully they can make something happen there, because, man, now I know this movie will make money regardless. Okay. Now this movie is The Accountant. Now The Accountant, Warner Brothers Pictures did invest some money into this, but they're not the main people. Artist Equity, took some money in to make this happen, as well as Zero Gravity Management and 51 Entertainment. It's distributed in the United States by Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, also known as Amazon MGM Studios, and it would be distributed by them through their Amazon Prime, and then Warner Brothers Pictures does the international releases. So all around the world, Warner Brothers Pictures would be releasing this movie, and it'll be in theaters, I'm assuming, for a limited period of time, and then they go on to streaming. I get how this goes. Or maybe we'll see. Maybe it will actually stay in theaters But anyway, April 25th is it. This movie definitely is going to make money. It's the premise of this movie. Everybody's looking for it. It's a highly anticipated movie. It's going to make money. We know that. So that's a winner right there. And mainly because it's the sequel also to The Accountant. So I wouldn't see. I know I'm going to go see it. And if I'm interested in something like that, more than likely, a lot of people are. When I'm interested in something that's an adult theme, something, and I'm like, I know there are people. There's an audience for that. So yeah. And then they're also doing the sequel to Final Destination, which is another horror movie. And then their other big hit is supposed to be F1. F1 is supposed to be, really, really good. They're relying on this to do well with, again, a big name. Brad Pitt is in this movie. So now we have had, I think it was Ford versus, what was it? Ford versus, I can't remember. Ford versus Ferrari or something like that. And that made a lot of money. I don't know, and I think Brad Pitt was in that movie too. I don't know if they could make this happen. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. The production companies are Apple Studios, Jerry Bruckheimer Films, Plan B Entertainment, Dawn Apollo Films, and Warner Brothers is doing, and Apple doing the streaming. Obviously, this will be on Apple TV as a streamer. Warner Brothers will do the distribution into the theaters. I don't know if they can pull this off. We'll see. Uh, but again, the risk is there. Abdi and DeLuca, the cost of this movie is, they don't say, so I can't really tell you. But they don't really have much to do with the movie per se. I guess they'll purchase the movie for distribution or whatever, and that'll have a cost to it. But once again, they're counting on this. So they're counting on The Accountant, Final Destination, Bloodlines, The Accountant 2, Sinners, Minecraft movie, and The Alto Knights. These are the kinds of movies they're counting on to come up trumps, including Superman. Now, not a single DC movie has done anything for the company so far. Thankfully, there's just one DC movie this year. So if Superman flops, that's just one blow they have to take. But having said that, do they have enough movies to sort of, how do I say, compensate for that? Okay. They'll be counting on The Conjuring, Last Rites, to sort of bail them out. They're also looking to The Bride. The Bride is another movie. It's supposed to be a musical, etc. It's $80 million they threw at that film, and they're hoping that somehow will work out well. The other one is Mortal Kombat 2. That was a flop. The first one was a flop. I don't know if they can pull this off. Is it going to go straight to streaming? I don't think so. It's going in the theaters first and then probably to streaming. So I have no idea if that's going to work out or not. That's a real roll of the die. I don't even know how much money they pumped into it. Let me see. They don't even say. So it is what it is. And that's it for 2025. For Abney and DeLuca to be fired, these movies have to all flop, or at least most of them. I can tell you that The Conjuring's not going to flop. Okay? I can tell you that for a fact. No matter what, that's not going to flop. It's got a fan base and everything. I could tell you that The Accountant's not going to flop. But as to the other movies, it's up in the air as what'll happen to them. Minecraft is a sort of a original IP that's being launched. Sinners, original IP being launched. You have some sequels. You have The Accountant and you have the Final Destination Bloodlines. Now, sequels are not guaranteed to be hits because, as we saw, Joker Part 2, it wasn't necessarily a hit. So, you know what I'm saying? Now, you guys may be wondering, why am I saying all this? Why am I breaking down all of this? Abdi and DeLuca are not bad heads of Warner Brother Pictures. They're not. And they're actually willing and open-minded to try different things. And there are a number of projects that will be coming up in 2026 that I'm not talking about, actually. It's Dr. Seuss Cat in the Hat. There's The Mummy. They're going to do sort of a revamp of The Mummy again. You have Supergirl Clayface that's supposed to come out next year. Dennis Villeneuve is supposed to do another movie. He's quality director. He very rarely gets flops. Godzilla times Kong: The New Empire is a sequel to that. So those are all good things. The Batman sequel is supposed to come out next year. At least it's there's another Dr. Zeus thing. Again, not really big blockbuster movies. There's one or two of them. By the way, Clayface, I think Clayface is supposed to be a movie. I don't know how that's happening. It doesn't even have a script yet, so I don't know what they're talking about. They're supposed to do the follow up for Horizon and American Saga. These are all, however, undated films. I don't think that's happening anymore because the first film flopped. In 5 years, Lord of the Rings: The Hunt for Gollum. I think this is supposed to be. Is it an animation? I think it's an animation like the other one. So I don't know if that's still on the cards. Coyote versus Acme has been canceled, as we know. Dune Messiah, which is the third installment of Dune, that's supposed to come out in 2026, I'm assuming. Horizon American Saga Chapter 3, they're filming that. So there's some pre-production on some of these things. Of course, there's some pre-production work. I don't know if they're still going through with some of these things. They say pre-production, but this is supposed to be completed. So I'm assuming, I don't know if they want to continue with this or what. When you begin something with a flop, I don't think it's a good idea to continue it. You know what I'm saying? They're supposed to have The Authority out there, Alien Legion, another one of those alien films, Akira, Attack of the 50-Foot Woman, Evangeline, Black Samurai, The Bodyguard. I guess they're going to redo it again. I don't know why. The Brave and the Bold, that's supposed to be Batman, I think. DC Captain Planet, they're thinking about. Constantine 2 is way down the road, but they have it on the card, so it's something that they can still work with. That would make them money, I'm telling you, guarantee you that's for sure, if they put that out. You have the Goonies, Hot Wheels. They're thinking of doing something with Mattel, Hot Wheels. I Am Legend 2. So after many years, they're thinking of probably pulling back. I don't know if Will Smith will be in that. I don't know what's going on. These are just some things. They have Lethal Weapon 5. What else they have out here? Meet the Flintstones. Rush Hour 4. Why would you do something like that? I don't know. Swamp Thing. Thundercats. Crazy Rich Asian spinoff. Detective Pikachu. Untitled fifth Matrix film. I don't think that's happening because the Matrix film that they did, it flopped. I don't think they'll be going back there anytime soon. Untitled Teen Titans film. That would be great if it's serious. Untitled Tom and Jerry film. The Wizard of Oz and The Woman. So nothing super exciting to see off the horizon. A lot of remakes. One or two sequels that I'm really interested in, like Constantine 2, The Accountant 2. But as you can see, there's nothing really on the boards here that I can see that's really exciting and really interesting that I really want to see. And so that's why I guess David Zaslav has been behaving the way he's behaving with Abdi and DeLuca. But me personally speaking, I think Abdi and DeLuca are doing a good enough job, given that the people who are not performing, in my opinion, are Safran and Gunn. They're not helping the situation. They've been a burden. I mean, the kind of losses that DC has taken over the last couple of years, I mean, it's just ridiculous. Okay, it's crossed $1 billion a long time ago. They've cost the company over close to $1.5 billion now in losses. Okay, so Zack Snyder started off the DCEU. We had the Snyderverse. Those were profitable films until Warner Bros. Decided to take over, right? And even though they tampered with David Ayer's Suicide Squad, it's crazy that they could tamper with things to the extent where, I mean, And they constantly tampered. They tampered with Suicide Squad. They tampered with the end of Wonder Woman. And then they completely tampered. I mean, they completely messed up Zack Snyder's Justice League. And this is what we keep on getting day after day after day. Anyways, I am going to move on a little bit here. Gonna go into said Twitter. And I'm just going to share this with you guys concerning the so-called chosen people. You know, they say, well, you know, the Jews are the chosen people of God, or they talk about, you know, Israel, they're being a special people and they're a chosen people. And I just want to take a little time. Shout out, by the way, to Lord and Koj, or Koj. You know, I'm Christ, I am disciple. He is Lord and Kojak. I really totally vibe his vibe. He's a good guy. You know, and there's a group on Facebook, Christians and Muslims Unite, and it's really awesome. And yeah, let me just get into this. Okay, you guys ready for this? You guys really ready for this? Let's go.
Now they believe they are sick. These people honestly believe that they are the descendants of gods, that they are the chosen, that they are God's special people, that we are delusional, and that the true creator is this wisdom principle that they think of as Lucifer. That wisdom principle gave us ancient mystery school teaching.
Okay, so what he's really talking about right now, which we talk about as the synagogue of Satan, and I will bring up the scripture that corroborates that right now for you guys. Shout out to Lord Koj, by the way. So I'm going to read something here. In Revelation 2:9, he's talking to a church and he says, I know your works and tribulation and poverty, but you are rich. And I know the blaspheme of they that say they are Jews and are not. They are of the synagogue of Satan. And he's talking to a church, I think it was Ephesus. And in Revelation 3:9, he says, Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before your feet, and to know that I have loved you. And just in case you do not fully understand what I'm saying, in Acts 7:43, Stephen says to the Jews who were stoning him, Yea, you took up the tabernacle of Moloch, and the star of your god, Rephaim, figures which ye made to worship them, and I will carry you away beyond Babylon. This is when they were, I believe Isaiah prophesied against them, as well as Ezekiel, as well as Jeremiah. And these are contemporaries, I think, around the same time. I think Isaiah was a little bit before. Anyway, Jeremiah was telling them how they were worshiping Moloch. Moloch, for those you don't know, there were child sacrifices to, this was a Moabite god, which the children would be thrown into the fire and offered as sacrifices to this god Moloch. And I have a lot to tell you guys concerning this. But before I go on, I wanted to say that these people who worship Satan, and some of them are Zionists, some of them are Jewish Zionists, some of them are atheists, period. They're not Zionists at all, they're just atheists. These people who claim they are Jews, but are not Jews, most of them come from the region of Khazar, and were converts, supposedly converts to Judaism. What version of Judaism is another question, because you have the Pharisees and the Sadducees. But nonetheless, these are the same people, or come from the same stock of people, who had been blaspheming against the Christians and the disciples of Jesus Christ, and who continuously spat on the ground. And if you look at the reactions in Israel of Jews to Christians there, they spit at them, they stone them, they slap them, and they get very, very angry when you speak about Jesus Christ. There's a gnashing of teeth and so on. And that is, the Sadducees were like that in Israel. And, you know, Jesus said to them, many are chosen, but few, many are called, but few are chosen. And they consider themselves God's chosen people, but which God? But ye have borne the tabernacle of your Moloch, and Chion your images, the star of your God, which ye made to yourselves. And just in case you don't understand who the star of the God is, this is the star of Rephan. The star of Rephan, as you can see, is a six-pointed star, what people call today the Star of David, which is a lie. Star of David is not that. This is the Star of Rephan. You see it on your police vehicles. You see it on the flag of Israel. You see it in the American Stars and Stripes. The Star of Rephan. Now you have to be very careful about these things. See, you have to understand what's really going on, because they put those stars and the Stars and Stripes for a reason. This is why America and Israel join at the hip. This is why they love each other so much. Okay? They are both formed by Freemasonry, Kabbalah. Now, real Judaism, which follows the Torah, not the Talmud, but the Torah, real Judaism, the real Jews. And let me say another thing. Oh, actually, you know what? Let me let the gentleman speak. So I'm going to let him speak now, and I'll come back and I'll talk a little bit more about this. Because Lord Kojay, you were 100% correct. This is about good versus evil, but it's amazing how Zack Snyder's movies are so great. You know, I always quote Lex Luthor in Batman v Superman, where he says, you know, that painting should be upside down. You know, devils don't come from hell beneath us. No, they come from the sky. And a lot of people we esteem very highly, and we look very highly in society. You know, we call them the stars in the sky. Remember Hollywood? Okay. Well, these are the people who are actually feeding off of us. The shepherds that feed on the sheep. Sorry, the hirelings that feed on the sheep. And this was what was going on in ancient corrupt Judea when Jesus was alive, and that's why he had to kick out the money changers. And then we saw it again. Human nature is to want to self-benefit, to hoard all money to oneself. And why I believe I should be doing this stream right now. It's very important I do this, you know. So what you guys are what's transpiring, and why? Because I ask myself this question all the time. I say, right now, Israel, or at least the Palestinian Initiative, as it was once called, right now, the leaders of Israel have implemented a blockade where no food and no electricity, no one can just go out of Palestine right now. Okay, they're gearing up their forces, their armies, their military to go and invade and destroy Israel. They have massive bombs and stuff. And I'm asking myself this question: why is it we have how many countries in the world? I think it's 190 something countries. Why is it that the leaders of these countries, including my country, have not issued a statement against this and haven't halted all transactions with Israel? All transactions with Israel immediately. Cut them off from the world for what they're doing. Why hasn't this even happened? Why hasn't even a resolution been passed in the United Nations banning all trade with Israel, banning Israel from participating in the United Nations, or at least isolating them and shaming them with immediacy? You know, and isolate them, completely isolate them. Why are the Arab nations still giving them oil? Why is Turkey allowing oil to go to Israel? Why haven't they shut off the supplies? Turkey, Jordan, their neighbor, shouldn't be doing any transaction with them right now. They should hold all affairs and all business. This is supposed to be priority one, because this is in violation of the sovereignty of nations. This is in violation of human rights. Why? Do you want to know the answer? These people have installed people who will be favorable to them in key positions in countries. They hold the country's will at ransom. This is what's happening in the United States of America. The majority of Americans are really realizing this is not about America first at all. A lot of them are waking up, and they're realizing that the federal government is not in favor of them. and their interests? Clearly not. They're in favor of Israel. And why? It's because Israel has infected the United States of America. I say Israel. The Rothschilds. Remember, Israel is a Rothschild project in the center of the city of London. Politicians have been bought out because those politicians have proceeded to be involved in pedophilia, be involved in child sacrifice, be involved in these secret meetings of secret society, in these groves, in these strange places, offering up sacrifices to devils, to demons. Y'all like to call them aliens, whatever. It's very demonic what's happening. And we're getting to see the spiritual. And that's why I said I love Zack Snyder's movies, because there's a spiritual element to it. Whether it's Rebel Moon, whether it's Batman v Superman, or even Zack Snyder's Justice League. Zack Snyder knows how wicked and evil or so-called heroes are. And we're seeing it in every area of industry now. We're seeing this very greedy, selfish, destructive behavior. And the principles on which a lot of us grew up on are absolutely just trampled and violated. And it's all about barbaric means. You feel the barbarism. You feel the lack of love and care for another human being. All right, let me let this guy continue.
Teachings, and that the enemy, which they call Adonai, the adversary, which we would call the Christian God, came to try to defeat them. Then they even take it a step further and they look at texts like the Bible and they say that where it says in the end times that God will take the money from the wicked and restore it to the just, that we as a planet are the wicked and they are the just. So this is how they justify their financial corruption. They don't believe that we deserve the money. In fact, they believe that if they did not dominate us and if they did not control us and play all these games, that we left to our own devices would destroy our planet. So in some twisted rationale, they believe they are saving the earth. They believe humans are bad for the environment. We cause pollution, so they have to reduce population. Then they seed that into movies like The Matrix, where Agent Smith says that that humans are like a virus on the planet. This is one of a variety of ways in which they will usually embed their teachings into the villain.
By the way, ladies and gentlemen, we will not quit. Restore the Snyders. All day, baby. All day. You know what's the weirdest thing? And I think this is why you're getting this stirred up, sort of fake protest about Zack Snyder's Justice League 2. Why they don't want it to happen. And I think one of the the reasons why there's a fake protest for Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 not to happen is because Darkseid is supposed to come and create a genocide on the earth and get the anti-life equation and put people in bondage and slavery. This is exactly what Israel is planning to do right now to Palestine and to the West Bank, East Jerusalem. Well, they're doing it in the West Bank and East Jerusalem. They just kicked out a bunch of people, and they intend to do it again in Gaza. And these themes ride so closely that it would influence the public to have negative feelings about that particular situation. There are people who are brainwashed and they're still pro-Israel, like Damian Anton Vincent. Regardless of what, he's brainwashed into believing in Donald Trump. He's brainwashed into believing that the opposition is the way to the truth and the life. And I don't see it as that. I see them as a necessary evil to combat evil that's already happening. But he looks at it, Damian Anton Vincent, he looks at things like, this is our savior. And he puts all his trust and all his hope in certain people and stuff. And he doesn't realize Donald Trump is basically an asset of the Israeli, propaganda machine. He's just playing a role. He's a puppet. You know, he can't see that. He thinks there's redemption from these people. These people are not going to give you no redemption. They're bought. All right, Elon Musk bought Donald Trump for $200 and something million. I forgot what the Israeli lady is. Bought Donald Trump so that he would annex the West Bank. Paid him $100 million. Okay, so he has to go do his job like a humble little servant. He can't stand up to these people. You know. So Elon Musk has all our information that's supposed to be confidential that the government's supposed to have to protect our identity. Elon Musk has all that information now. Anything he's gone through, he's raided through, and he's got a lot of information now. You know, and he's not planning to do anything good with it. Okay, these people are all the same. So Elon Musk dress up in a very demonic outfit. Okay, because these people worship the same God. Satan, Baphomet, the devil. You call them Illuminati. You call them Freemasons. You may call them the followers of Kabbalah. You may call them the Grove people. You may call them the worshipers of the dragon. They're all the same. You may call them the people who follow what the aliens say. They're all the same. They're all the same people.
Steppenwolf would fail. Yes. Yes, you did. My master, now that the mother boxes have been destroyed, how will you retrieve your great prize? Until life is found to stop, and we will stop at nothing to possess it.
Okay. Now, let me go to something else here. I have to find it first. Well, I mean, do I need to do this? This is just saying that the woman who was with Epstein, her father was a Mossad agent. I might as well. Let's go into it.
WBD is a conservative public relations media firm.
Okay,
I'm starting to think that America First doesn't mean what we actually think it means. Check this out.
Okay, before I go on, let me just say that he's going to expose something that's very interesting. He's going to expose an Israeli Mossad asset who has infiltrated the American government, and the whole America First PR firm is actually an Israeli asset. Let's go.
America First PR, America's first anti-woke PR firm. This is their website. It says that America First PR is a conservative public relations media firm. We represent candidates, personalities, and companies who think on the right side of things and are unapologetically patriots. Okay. It's run by this lady named Melissa Rain Lively, and she seems pretty well connected. Here's her with Tulsi Gabbard, our new director of national intelligence. Here's her with Kash Patel, FBI director. RFK Jr., HHS secretary. But just a few years ago, Melissa was just, quote, a Jewish woman who escaped QAnon after it consumed her life. Fast forward a couple years, she's now hanging out with Donald Trump, Dana White, Elon Musk, and Mar-a-Lago. I wonder how she got there. I wonder, just perhaps, maybe, did it have something to do with this situation? The new Hasbara 2.0, so to speak. Losing the war for public opinion abroad, Israel is relaunching a heavily funded plan to disguise its own propaganda behind the facade of foreign agents. Because, a lot of times she's looking pretty.
Okay, so there's a couple of things you need to understand. Hasbara is simply an Israeli propaganda campaign. Okay, and now he's talking about, hey, wait a minute, this woman who's supposed to be, the PR firm for America First, apparently she works for Israel. This is what he's going to come up with. It's really that simple.
Pretty MAGA, pretty America First. But if you dig deep, a lot of her posts seem to be about an entirely different country altogether. An incredible day at the Knesset in Jerusalem, working on strategies to strengthen the impenetrable friendship, business relationships, sports, and cultural ties between the U.S. and Israel. 2024 was a year of relentless hard work and determination that yields great rewards. Hashtag America First, hashtag Israel Forever. Daddy T says it ends Sunday. Time to get terrorists. In case you didn't notice, these are not American troops. So yeah, America First PR.